If they're saying these things, they're not in love. They're just keeping you on the hook. If you've ever felt that gut punch of confusion in a relationship where someone acts like they care but never truly commits, you're not alone. Avoidants have a way of sounding like they're emotionally available, while actually keeping you at arm's length. They're experts at giving you just enough warmth to keep you hoping, while never letting you get close enough to matter. And the truth is, if they're using certain phrases, they aren't falling in love. They're simply maintaining control and keeping you emotionally trapped. The danger is that these phrases don't sound cruel at first. They sound reasonable, even mature. But that's exactly the point. Avoidants use them like a mask, hiding their fear of intimacy and their need to stay in power. The first phrase to watch for is, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now." This line is one of the most common tools in the avoidance toolkit. It sounds honest, like they're being responsible with your feelings. But what it really means is, I want the benefits of being with you without the commitment. When someone is truly in love, they make room for the relationship. They find a way to show up, even if it's messy or imperfect. Avoidants don't. They delay, they postpone, they keep the door open to leave. And that's the core of what makes this phrase so dangerous. It gives you a false sense of hope. You start waiting for them to change or grow. But in reality, they're not changing. They're just keeping you on standby. The second phrase is, "I don't want to rush anything." On the surface, this sounds like a healthy approach. But when an avoidant says it, it's often a way to slow the relationship down so they never have to fully commit. They want to control the pace, so you stay in the chasing mode, always trying to earn their love, always trying to prove you're worth it. And that's where the narcissist-style manipulation comes in, because what they're really doing is hoovering you, pulling you closer with small doses of affection, then pulling away just before you can feel secure. They want you emotionally attached, but not emotionally safe. They want you to invest in them without ever giving you the real connection you crave. And then there's the classic line, "You're too intense, too emotional." This phrase is a weapon disguised as concern. Avoidants use it to invalidate your feelings and make you question yourself. It's a way to say, "Your emotions are a problem for me," without taking responsibility for their own emotional absence. When someone truly loves you, they don't shame you for being human. They hold space for your emotions and support you through them. Avoidance, however, will push you away and label your vulnerability as a flaw. If you hear these phrases repeatedly, it's not just a red flag, it's a warning sign. They're not falling in love, they're building a safety net for themselves while keeping you trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment. And the harsh truth is, the more you stay, the more you teach them that it's okay to keep you on the hook. When an avoidant says, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now," it might sound like a mature, honest statement, but in reality, it's one of the most common manipulative phrases used to keep someone emotionally trapped while maintaining total control. This is the kind of line that seems responsible, like they're trying to protect your feelings. It appears respectful, as if they're being thoughtful and considerate. But the truth is far more disturbing. This phrase is a classic avoidance tactic, a way to keep the emotional door open without ever truly letting you in. Avoidants don't say this because they're confused or genuinely unavailable. They say it because they want to keep you close enough to provide attention, validation, and emotional supply, while also preserving the freedom to walk away at any moment. This is where the narcissist-style truth becomes clear. They don't actually want you. They want the feeling of being desired, the power of having someone waiting for them, and the comfort of knowing they have a safety net if things don't go their way. They want to maintain control over the relationship's pace and intensity, and they know that if they commit, they risk losing their sense of independence, their emotional distance, and their ability to disengage whenever they feel threatened or pressured. The phrase, "I'm not ready," is dangerous because it places the responsibility for the relationship's future onto you. It implies that the only thing standing between you and a real relationship is time, as if you simply need to wait long enough and they'll eventually grow into a partner. This is why so many people stay in these situations for months, even years, believing that love will eventually arrive. They're told to be patient, to respect their boundaries, to give them space. But what's really happening is that the avoidant is training you to accept emotional scarcity as normal and to interpret their inconsistency as something you should tolerate. They're not saying, "I'm not ready because I need to heal," or "I'm not ready because I'm not emotionally stable." They're saying, "I'm not ready because I don't want to fully commit to you." And the difference is huge. One statement is about growth and self-awareness, while the other is about keeping you close without ever being vulnerable. When you hear this line, you need to understand what they're doing psychologically. Avoidants fear intimacy, not because they don't care, but because they care too much about maintaining control. Intimacy requires surrender, vulnerability, and emotional risk. It forces them to show parts of themselves they don't want to expose. So instead of facing that fear, they use a phrase like, "I'm not ready," to create a safe distance. They're essentially telling you, "I want you, but not enough to risk losing myself." This is the core of avoidant behavior. They want connection without dependence, affection without responsibility, and closeness without commitment. They want to keep the illusion of love alive without actually investing in it. And because they are so skilled at emotional manipulation, they often manage to convince you that you're the one being unreasonable for wanting more. The narcissist-style truth behind this is even more brutal. They don't want to be in a relationship because a relationship would mean you could actually hold them accountable. A relationship would mean boundaries, expectations, and emotional reciprocity. It would mean you deserve consistency, loyalty, and emotional availability, and that is terrifying to someone who thrives on control and emotional detachment. So instead of offering you real love, they offer you a vague promise that never materializes. They keep you emotionally engaged by giving you small moments of connection. A text here, a date there, a sweet comment that makes you believe you matter. But those moments are not proof of love. They are just bait. They are carefully timed to keep you hopeful, to keep you waiting, and to keep you attached. This is what makes the "I'm not ready" line so effective. It creates a constant sense of anticipation. You begin to believe that if you just wait, if you just stay loyal, if you just give them space, they will eventually choose you. But the truth is, avoidants rarely choose. They keep you in the middle, never fully in, never fully out. A reality check is necessary here. If they were truly in love, they would make space for you, not hide behind timing. Love doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Love makes the moment perfect. When someone genuinely loves you, they don't use timing as an excuse to avoid commitment. They don't ask you to be patient while they remain emotionally distant. They don't keep you in limbo, hoping you'll accept crumbs. Love shows up. It shows up even when it's inconvenient, even when it's scary, and even when it requires sacrifice. If they truly wanted a relationship with you, they would find a way to show it. They would adjust their priorities. They would communicate clearly. They would take responsibility for their emotional availability. Instead, avoidants offer you vague promises, half-truths, and a future that never arrives. The most painful part is that many people interpret this phrase as a sign of honesty. They think, at least they're being real. But honesty without action is still manipulation. The avoidant is using your trust against you. They are counting on your compassion, your patience, and your fear of losing them. They know you care, and they know you're willing to wait. And that is exactly why they can continue using this phrase without consequence. It keeps you emotionally invested while they remain emotionally detached. It keeps you chasing while they maintain control. And the longer you stay, the more your self-worth becomes tied to their approval. You begin to believe that their presence, even in small doses, validates you. You begin to confuse their attention with love, and you start to rationalize their avoidance as something you can fix. But the truth is, you cannot fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You cannot love someone into commitment. You cannot force someone to be emotionally available when they've built their entire identity around emotional distance. So when you hear, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now," you need to recognize it for what it truly is, a red flag disguised as a reasonable statement. It's not an invitation to wait. It's a warning that you're being kept on the hook. If someone truly loves you, they don't hide behind timing. They make you a priority. They don't ask you to be patient. They show up, and they don't keep you in a state of uncertainty. They choose you because love is not a temporary option. Love is a decision. And if they're not choosing you, then they're not in love. They're just keeping you close enough to feed their ego while still keeping their freedom intact. When an avoidant says, "I don't want to rush anything," it can feel like they're being respectful, considerate, or even mature. It sounds like the kind of line you would expect from someone who cares about your feelings and wants the relationship to develop naturally. But the reality is far darker. This phrase is a carefully crafted manipulation tool used to slow down intimacy, control the pace of the connection, and keep you chasing, not because they need time to figure things out, but because they want to keep you emotionally attached without ever fully committing. Avoidants thrive on the power of uncertainty. They don't want a relationship that feels stable, predictable, or emotionally deep, because stability and depth require them to surrender control. So instead, they create a slow, almost painless drip of affection, just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to make you feel secure. The phrase, "I don't want to rush anything," is a way to make you believe that they're being patient, when in truth they're being strategic. They're giving you just enough hope to stay, but not enough certainty to feel safe. This is where the narcissist-style truth becomes clear. This is a classic hoovering tactic. In narcissistic relationships, hoovering is the process of pulling someone back in after distance or breakup. But avoidants do a similar thing during the relationship. They pull you in slowly, like a fisherman reeling in a line. They offer small moments of connection, then retreat, then offer again. It's a cycle designed to keep you emotionally invested. The slower the pace, the more you begin to fill the gaps with your own fantasies and hopes. You start to imagine a future with them, because your mind is trying to create meaning out of their inconsistent behavior. You begin to rationalize their distance as they just need time, or they're not used to love, or they have trauma. You start to believe that if you just stay patient, if you just don't push, if you just give them space, they will eventually open up. But what you're really doing is feeding their control. You're teaching them that they can keep you waiting indefinitely, and you'll still be there. That's the exact opposite of healthy love. The reason this phrase is so dangerous is because it puts the relationship on their terms. It makes the pace of intimacy their decision. It allows them to remain emotionally safe while you remain emotionally vulnerable. You are the one who wants closeness, security, and clarity, but they are the one who sets the rules. And because they've framed it as not rushing, you feel guilty for wanting more. You start to think you're the problem for wanting love at a normal pace. You start to question your own needs, and that is the power of this phrase. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you believe that your desire for intimacy is too intense or too fast. But the truth is, love doesn't move at a pace designed to keep you insecure. Love moves at a pace that makes you feel safe. Love moves at a pace that creates emotional stability, not emotional starvation. Avoidants use this line because they fear the intensity of a real relationship. They fear the loss of independence, the vulnerability, the emotional responsibility. They fear being seen, being known, being held accountable. And so they keep the relationship in a state of perpetual not yet. They keep it in a fog of uncertainty. They keep it at a distance where they can still feel in control. The "I don't want to rush anything" line is a way to avoid intimacy without appearing cold. It makes them look considerate, like they're giving you time, but in reality, They're creating a long, drawn-out period of emotional withholding. They are giving you the illusion of a relationship without offering the substance of it. This tactic is especially effective because it triggers your attachment system. If you're someone who fears abandonment, you'll do anything to keep the connection alive. You will try harder. You will become more attentive. You will become more available. You will give them more space. You will try to be less needy. You will become a better version of yourself. Not because they inspired you, but because you're desperate to keep the relationship from falling apart. The avoidant knows this. They know that by keeping the pace slow, they can make you feel like you're the one who is too intense. They can make you feel like your need for love is a problem. They can make you feel like you're the one who needs to change. This is manipulation disguised as healthy boundaries. It's emotional abuse wrapped in a polite sentence. The narcissist-style truth behind this is that avoidants don't want you to feel secure, because security means they have to show up consistently. They don't want to show up consistently, because showing up consistently means they have to be emotionally available, and emotional availability is something they are terrified of. So they keep the relationship in a constant state of almost abitimic, keep it in a state of maybe someday. They keep it in a state of not yet. And because they are skilled at making you feel like you're the one being unreasonable, you end up apologizing for wanting what every person deserves: clarity, consistency, and commitment. The reality check is brutal but necessary. Love doesn't move at a pace designed to keep you insecure. Real love doesn't make you feel like you have to beg for attention. Real love doesn't make you feel like you're always waiting for the next text, the next date, the next sign that they care. Real love doesn't require you to stay patient for years while they figure things out. Real love shows up. It's consistent. It's stable. It's not dramatic. It doesn't keep you in emotional limbo. If someone truly cares about you, they don't make your emotional safety optional. They make it a priority. So when someone says, "I don't want to rush anything," you need to ask yourself what they are actually saying. Are they saying, "I want to build a strong foundation with you," or are they saying, "I want to keep you waiting so I can stay in control"? Because there is a huge difference between taking things slow and keeping things slow forever. Taking things slow is healthy when both people are on the same page. Keeping things slow forever is a way to avoid intimacy while still enjoying the benefits of a relationship. This phrase is also a form of emotional addiction. The avoidant is feeding you small bits of affection so you keep returning. They are creating a cycle of hope and disappointment. You get a taste of love, then it disappears, and you start craving it again. It's like a drug, and the avoidant is the dealer. The longer you stay, the more your brain becomes addicted to those brief moments of connection. You start to tolerate the pain because the pleasure is so intense. You start to believe that if you just endure the distance, the love will eventually arrive. But the love doesn't arrive. The distance remains, and the avoidant remains emotionally unavailable. At the end of the day, you must understand that this phrase is not about timing. It's about control. It's about keeping you close enough to feel comfortable, but not close enough to matter. It's about avoiding emotional responsibility while still enjoying the benefits of being desired. If they truly wanted you, they would show it. They would make a choice. They would create a relationship that makes you feel safe, not insecure. They would move at a pace that respects your emotional needs. They would not keep you in a constant state of waiting, because love is not a slow game designed to keep you guessing. Love is a choice, and if they are not choosing you, they are not in love. They are just keeping you on the hook. When an avoidant says, "You're too intense," or "You're too emotional," it might feel like a painful insult, but it's actually one of the most common and destructive emotional manipulation tactics used to control the relationship. Avoidants don't say this because they're trying to help you regulate your emotions or because they care about your mental health. They say it because they are terrified of emotional intimacy and vulnerability, and they need a way to protect themselves from having to feel anything deeper. When they label your emotions as too much, what they are really doing is creating a barrier between you and the connection you crave. They're putting the responsibility on you for their inability to meet you emotionally. They're saying, in effect, your feelings are a problem for me, while refusing to acknowledge that their emotional unavailability is the real issue. This is why it's such a huge red flag, because it's not a critique of your emotional intensity, it's a defense mechanism. It's a way to keep you at a distance while making you feel like the one who is wrong. The narcissist-style truth behind this phrase is brutal. This is emotional manipulation disguised as concern. It's a tactic used to gaslight you into believing that your emotional needs are unreasonable. It's a way to shame you for wanting what every person deserves: empathy, understanding, and emotional support. When they say you're too emotional, they're trying to make you doubt yourself. They're trying to make you question your own feelings and instincts. And when you start doubting yourself, you become easier to control. You become more likely to apologize for expressing yourself. You become more likely to silence your emotions, to minimize your needs, and to prioritize their comfort over your own well-being. This is not love. This is control. Avoidants use this phrase because emotional intensity triggers them. It threatens their sense of emotional safety. They don't want to feel the weight of your emotions because that would force them to feel something themselves. And feeling something is dangerous to them. Feeling means vulnerability. Vulnerability means risk. And risk means losing control. So instead of meeting you emotionally, they create a narrative where your emotions are the problem. They make it seem like your emotional reactions are excessive or dramatic. They make you feel like you're too much. And once you internalize that message, you start to walk on eggshells. You start to censor yourself. You start to protect them instead of protecting yourself. You start to believe that your feelings are the reason the relationship isn't working. The truth is, emotional intensity is not a flaw. It's a sign that you care deeply. It's a sign that you're human. It's a sign that you are connected to your own inner world. People who say you're too emotional often have a fear of emotional depth themselves. They don't want to experience emotions because they can be overwhelming, messy, and unpredictable. They want to keep things surface level because surface level is safe. Surface level doesn't require commitment. Surface level doesn't require responsibility. Surface level doesn't require vulnerability. And avoidants are experts at keeping things surface level. They want a relationship that feels easy, not a relationship that feels real. The "you're too intense" phrase is also a powerful way to keep you dependent and confused. When someone constantly tells you that your emotions are too much, you begin to doubt your own reality. You start to think, maybe I am too intense. Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I'm the problem. This is exactly what they want. Because once you start questioning yourself, you become less confident and more clingy. You start seeking reassurance. You start needing their approval. And the more you need them, the more power they have over you. They don't want to meet you emotionally. They want to keep you attached, but not close enough to truly be seen. They want you to stay in a state of confusion where you're constantly trying to earn their love and validation. That's how they maintain control. This tactic also plays into the narcissistic pattern of emotional abuse. Narcissists often use emotional invalidation to undermine their partner's confidence. They label your feelings as irrational or excessive, so they can avoid accountability. Avoidants do the same thing. They use emotional invalidation to keep you from confronting them. They want you to stay quiet, because silence keeps the relationship stable from their perspective. They want you to accept their emotional absence as normal. They want you to believe that your need for emotional connection is too much. And because they've framed it as concern, "I'm just telling you this because I care about you," you may not even realize you're being manipulated. You may think they're being honest or helpful, but the truth is, they're not helping you. They're controlling you. The reality check here is simple and painful. They don't want to meet you emotionally. They want to keep you dependent and confused. If someone truly loves you, they don't shame you for feeling. They don't label your emotions as a problem. They don't make you feel like you're too much. They meet you where you are. They hold space for you. They validate your experience. They support you through your emotions instead of dismissing them. Real love doesn't make you feel like you need to shrink yourself to be acceptable. Real love doesn't make you feel like you need to apologize for being human. Avoidants also use this phrase because they want to maintain emotional superiority. When they call you too intense, they're placing themselves in the role of the calm, rational one. They're positioning themselves as the normal person, while labeling you as unstable or overly dramatic. This is a form of emotional domination. It's a way to keep you beneath them, and once you feel beneath them, you start to seek their approval more desperately. You start to try to earn their acceptance. You start to mold yourself into someone who fits their comfort zone. But the truth is, you should never have to shrink yourself to fit someone else's emotional limitations. This is why this phrase is such a major red flag. It's not just a comment, it's a strategy. It's a manipulation technique designed to make you feel wrong for wanting emotional connection. It's a way to keep you from asking for what you deserve. It's a way to keep you stuck in a relationship that never truly meets your needs. It's a way to keep you attached to someone who will never be fully available. The more you stay in a relationship where you're constantly being told you're too emotional, the more you start to lose yourself. You start to believe that your emotions are a weakness. You start to numb yourself. You start to stop expressing your need. You start to stop trusting your instincts. And that is the goal of the avoidant, to keep you disconnected from your own emotional power. Because an emotionally empowered person cannot be controlled. An emotionally empowered person will leave when they are not being treated with respect. An emotionally empowered person will demand love that is consistent and real. So if you hear the phrase, "You're too intense, too emotional," take it seriously. Don't let it slide as a simple personality critique. Recognize it as emotional manipulation. Recognize it as a red flag that shows you are being kept in a state of emotional confusion. Recognize that they are not attacking your emotions because they are too much, but because your emotions threaten their emotional distance. Your feelings are not a problem. Their avoidance is the problem, and the sooner you see that, the sooner you can stop chasing someone who will never meet you where you are. Because you deserve a love that makes you feel safe, validated, and seen. Not a love that makes you feel like you're always wrong for feeling. If you've been hearing these phrases from someone you care about, it's time to stop romanticizing their behavior. Avoidants don't say these things because they're unsure. They say them because they want to keep you close enough to feel secure, but far enough away to never truly commit. These phrases aren't expressions of love. They're emotional tools designed to keep you attached, confused, and always hoping for more. And the harsh truth is this: if they're saying these phrases, they're not falling in love. They're building a safety net. They're keeping you as an option, not a priority. They want the comfort of your attention without the responsibility of your heart. So don't let yourself become a backup plan, a waiting game, or a source of emotional supply. You deserve someone who shows up consistently, who communicates clearly, and who chooses you without hesitation. You deserve love that feels safe, not love that keeps you guessing. So here's the real question. Are you going to stay trapped in there maybe someday? Or are you going to step into your worth and walk away from the people who only want you when it's convenient? Because at the end of the day, you're not meant to be kept on the hook. You're meant to be chosen.